witchcraft.
Yes, I can confirm that today, around 10 a.m., the Kafaba chief was arrested in Damongo by the Regional Police Command.
Plus, Chief Imam condemns the act as he describes it as evil and unlawful under Islamic laws. Also, it is time for the opposition NDC to have a generational transition to pave way for younger and newer faces.
You can't have the same generation of people leading and directing the party all the time.
The moment she was announced, I accepted her because I know she's very good material, and we are also charting a new course.
We'll hear from two founding members, Professor Kwesi Boche and Kwame Ahoy, as the party outdoors is running mate and assesses if the NDC can remain relevant and competitive. Now, government says it has paid over 69% of all customers whose monies were locked up in the banking sector and financial institutions collapsed following former President Mahama's promise to pay up monies owed the customers.
We use a combination of bonds and cash. We pay them 80% in cash and 80% in bonds. The bonds are structured to pay out over 4 years.
We're also live tonight with President Akufo-Addo as he tours some parts of the northern region, commissioning projects. With the phased easing of COVID-19 restrictions and life getting back to normal, we bring back stories of how accidents are robbing families of their loved ones and maiming others.
To the mortuary, and where I saw the line of the stretchers at the mortuary, I went round and looked at all of them. I can't imagine. I don't want to wish it on anybody.
More on our Arrival Live campaign, where we hear from a wife and son of the three Kolebu urologists who died in an accident in 2015.
And in business, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union to work with local authorities to enforce the 10% reduction in fares from this Saturday.
And later.
Even in the whitest of all clubs, you still hear Afrobeat these days.
We throw the spotlight on popular musical duo Out to Bees. Guess what that means, by the way? Refuse to be broke tonight. Live on Newsnight. Join me with your views and text. 0244340437 is the WhatsApp line. My name is Evans Mensah, and we start from the Savannah region, where the regional police command they've arrested the chief of Kafaba in the East Gonja municipality of the region. Zakaria Yahya was arrested for his alleged role leading to the murder of 90-year-old Mama Ekwa Domitia, who was accused of witchcraft. Now, she was tortured in broad daylight at Kafaba by a priestess and some women in the East Gonja municipality. Now, Savannah Regional Police Commander Enoch Educhum Bediako confirmed the arrest to Joy News.
Yes, I can confirm that today, around 10 a.m., the Kafaba chief was arrested in Damongo by the Regional Police Command. We are interrogating him to know the side of his story too. After that, you will hear the outcome.
We are hearing rumors from his side that the confusion in Kafaba was triggered based on the burning of a political party pavilion, where the people went and brought the lady to come and try and identify the perpetrators, leading to this woman coming out, and then all the whole thing started.
Yeah, that's the information we have also got. So once we are doing interrogation, you will know the true fact of the case from the people that you arrest.
Okay. So apart from him, have there been any arrests in the community or anywhere?
Apart from him, no arrest has been made. And with the arrest of the chief, I know he will assist police for us to get the other suspects.
How is the environment as we speak now at Kafaba and Salaga? Your men are on the ground. What are they telling you in terms of?
Yeah, I know Kafaba is now a deserted place. Most of the people have relocated. They can run, but they cannot hide.
Well, President Akufo-Addo yesterday during his tour of the region condemned the gruesome murder. The president described the act as barbaric and unfortunate and urged the security to quickly deliver justice.
Make an appropriate contribution also to the Empire Foundation to express my own compassion at the awful tragic act that has occurred in this region. In spite of, as the regional minister said, that it should not happen again. And we should all work together to ensure that never again do such acts to strengthen our defense of our nation. I hope that the quick response of the police will lead to the rapid administration of justice in this unfortunate matter.
Well, the National Chief Imam Sheikh Nuhu Shaributu is also joined in the condemnation of the act, describing it as evil and unlawful under Islamic laws. Sheikh
We have received the information on the media, and we have seen the tips that a very old woman, 90 years, was mercilessly being subjected to violence till the time that she has to now give up her life, and she died. The fact that she's even a 90-year-old woman should have triggered a certain compassion from us. There's no grounds. We have not been able to establish this thing, and we are able to look on. And the worst part of it is that anytime she was being beaten, when I saw the tape, then Allahu Akbar, it was the slogan that we heard. And that is to say, as if to indicate that there's a connection between Islam and that evil thing that was being done. It is evil, I say here, it is evil, it is unlawful according to Islamic law. There's no connection. Allah Akbar is a means by which we magnify God, and we give Him glory, and we also extol Him and give Him all the greatness. That's why we call Him Allahu Akbar. Allah, you are most great. And Allah is, in His kindness and goodness, does not encourage this kind of thing. Allah asks us to be protecting our neighbors. And so therefore, there is no Islamic grounds, no Islamic justification for that evil thing that was done by people who were proclaiming Islam, and they were saying Allahu Akbar. It is wrong. It is just a contradiction of the Islamic principle of respect for sanctity of human blood and respect for the purity of human life. Islam, one of the germane principles and the Islamic Sharia as a principle is the protection of life. There are 5 germane principles underpinning the Sharia. One of them, the foremost, is the protection of life. And that's what the Quran says, if you kill one person, it shall be like you've killed the whole of the humanity of the world. If you give life to one person, it shall be like you've given life to the whole of the humanity. This must underscore for us a principle that respects life. And so we cannot, with impunity, kill or slay any person.
Now, Sheikh Mayal speaks for the National Chief Imam, a human rights organization, Amnesty International. They've been to visit the family of the deceased country director, Robert Akoto Amafo, joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Amafo, you visited the family. What were your observations? Hello, sir. Okay, we don't see.
Yes, hello. I'm here.
Okay, yes. What was your observation?
Observation was that all of them were in a very sad mood and very, very solemn, because we joined them for the first funeral rites as pertain to their culture. Two of the key things they asked us to ask for us being the first official institution to engage them is one, that they want justice for their mother, and 2, they want justice for all other women who may be going through such an act within the community. So those are the key things we observed from the family at the funeral grounds when we visited them at Salaga.
Your reaction to the decision by the police now to arrest one of the chiefs in this particular area, is that sufficient?
I think it's a good step. I was at the Salaga district office when he turned up at the district police command office. I was there with him, and coming from his community, that is Kafaba, with the chief. I think it is one of the steps to get information, but I think it's not enough. I think that we have been too late to act, which would put our law and the fact that our institutions that are supposed to work in this direction, put them in question, whether they are fast enough to act on such a matter and get us the results that we require, especially for us and key institutions like the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Ministry of Interior, and various institutions that we were hoping that they would get involved as soon as possible to ensure that other people, for us, and the second request of the family is something that is very dear to our hearts, that other women who may have gone through such an ordeal, because we also found out that she's not the only person who went through an ordeal. Other women also went because they were looking for who committed the crime in the community that they were accusing her of. And the other women went through torture to confess whether or not they committed that offense. Unfortunately, the soothsayer landed on Ikura Dante, and she was the one who was killed in the process. So the fact that other people may be going through such an ordeal. And another thing we found out was that it is a phenomenon in the community that whenever something happens, an elderly woman is accused of such an offense and therefore being a witch and goes through all sorts of torture and abuse. And we believe that if we want to address this matter, we shouldn't just look at certain foundations like we have heard from the president and the regional minister, but ensuring that we set up systems and structures and set a holistic way of addressing the issue within the community so that we don't have it happen again and have another foundation set in another person's name.
I'm grateful that you joined me with those thoughts. That's Amnesty International's country director, Robert Omarfo. They're still listening to Newsstand here on Joy 99.7 FM. Well, tonight, government says it has paid over 96% of all customers whose monies got locked up in the banking sector and financial institutions collapsed. Now, Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Edubuahin, who disclosed this in Parliament, said the rest of the 4% of customers whose payments have delayed are due to court actions. His comments come after former President John Mahama promised to pay up these monies owed customers of the defunct financial institutions.
I pledge on behalf of the NDC that we shall, within 1 year of being in office, pay all funds that have been locked up with the collapsed financial institutions.
Well, the affected customers, have been reacting to this particular promise. Leadership of the Coalition of Affected Savings and Loans Customers say their members are pushing for the group to officially declare support for the NDC in the upcoming elections. Ezekiel Ano Akakpo is secretary for the group.
And now this ex-president Mama comes to tell us that he will make sure that within 1 year he pays us. I believe, per what our members are saying, and from the information we are gathering, they said they prefer that 1 year period to the 5 years period. And if I tell you the number of people who are suffering as a result of this, and the number of people who are crying because of their money, it will surprise you. So what we are appealing to the president and the current government is that we thank them for starting the payment. We are grateful to them. We've expressed our numerous appreciation to them on that. But one thing we are telling them is that based on the promise the ex-president Mahama has come out with, if they don't take care and revise their payment plan, whereby making sure that every affected customer will receive his or her locked-up fund before 7 December, but will still go by the cap of 70,000 and the bond of 5 years. I believe majority, even if not all of our of our members, majority of them will be tempted to vote for NDC and the ex-president, despite the fact that they might even be NPP members.
So you had, of course, some of the customers there, but as you may well know, the customers are pretty varied. There are some who also come under the block of those who suffered on the back of the Men's Gold collapse as well. They've also been speaking, the coalition of aggrieved customers of Men's Gold. They want a clear guideline to the fulfillment of the promise, even though they see the statement as assuring.
The comment from the flag bearer, that is JDM, is very reassuring, but we want him to be more specific with Men's Gold, that when I come, within 1 year, I'll make sure that all Men's Gold customers retrieve their investment. That is what we want to hear from him publicly, so that the customers will not have any doubts in their mind. So that we can also go all out there and sell his message to our people.
Yeah, I think it's feasible, and he has been in government before, so he knows the pros and cons and all that in the government. So for him to promising that, yeah, I think it's possible. And it tells me he's a thinking individual, because he thinks about other people. You know, you hold the door. If you're a leader, what you do is you hold the door for others to enter before you close it. You don't open the door and enter and close it and leave the rest behind.
Well, former Deputy Communications Minister Felix Kwati-Fosu has been explaining to journalists how Mr. Mahama is going to raise funding to pay these monies.
every program that government initiates is dependent on the willingness of that government to mobilize the needed resources to finance it. So Mr. Mahama is not new to government. He's fully aware of how government mobilizes resources through various channels. So when it comes to paying people whose monies have been locked up in various banks and who are going through excruciating hardships, Mr. Mahama is well and able to mobilize the resources within government budget to finance this payment.
You talk about mobilizing resources, but has Mr. Mahama estimated how much is involved in this at all?
Well, I mean, that should not be difficult to do. Governments do not just get up and make payments. Whatever amount is involved, government has an obligation to pay these people, because these are people who are becoming victims of the collapse of financial institutions and who are going through very severe hardships at the moment. So I do not believe that any government that is responsible, that is caring, will shirk its duty to ensure that the plight of these people are there. So it does not matter how much money is involved. And I do not believe that the monies involved are beyond government capacity.
Well, of course, this has become a major political debate going into the elections. Well, government has been reacting also tonight pretty swiftly to this. We've been hearing from the Deputy Minister of Finance, Charles Dubai, who says government has set aside 3.1 billion cedis for the payments to these customers who suffered on the back of the financial institutions collapse. He says the noise being made over non-payment are by only a few people. Mr. Boahin made the comment whilst debating the 2020 media budget review statement on the floor of Parliament a day after former President John Mahama assured a future government, NDC government, will pay all the depositors who lost funds in the collapse.
3.1 billion cedis take care of these investors and depositors as soon as the court grants the receiver the authority to liquidate these institutions. And as soon as that happens, these depositors shall be paid. Mr. Speaker, you will also be very well aware of the concern around not rewarding bad behavior, as well as be able to pursue some of the shareholders, the senior executives who are behind this dire situation. We have also paid over 96% of the depositors in the savings and loans, microfinance and banking sector. Mr. Speaker, 96% of depositors have been paid in full. So the remaining 4% who make the most rents that are still outstanding and are yet to be paid. Mr. Speaker, in paying these depositors, we used a combination of bonds and cash. We paid them 80% in cash and 80% in bonds. The bonds were structured to pay out over 4 years, amortizing 0 coupon, meaning that we paid 20% of the face value every year for the next 4 years. Mr. Speaker, we came up with this structure in recognition of the fact that we had to watch the public purse and make sure that we use the scarce resources we had judiciously. Mr. Speaker, when we looked at the deposits of most of these deposits in these savings and loans and MFIs, we realized that depositors have been attracted by the real very high interest payments, sometimes exceeding 10% a month. So basically, people have innocently going to put their money to these institutions, believing that they're going to earn really high returns, as compared to the more conservative people who have deposited their monies with better capitalized banks that were paying them maybe 1 or 2% a month.
Well, meanwhile, former President John Mahama says his next government will establish a financial services authority to regulate the financial sector and also protect funds of depositors. Mr. Mahama observed that the establishment of the Financial Services Authority is to prevent a repeat of what happened under this government.
As has been introduced in other economies, the next NDC administration will establish a Financial Services Authority that will be responsible for ensuring that consumer financial markets work for consumers and providers and for the economy as a whole. This Financial Services Authority will oversee all financial products and services that are offered to consumers and will effectively and efficiently prevent and stop the challenges that have confronted customers of Men's Gold, DKM, and others.
I want to bring in banking consultant Dr. Richmond Chahene on this promise in particular. Dr. Chahene, thank you for time here on Newsnight. What's your reaction to that? A good move?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I mean, Financial Service Authority was a failed project in England. You know, it could not stand the test of time during the financial crisis. So the whole England abandoned the project and now gone back to the Bank of England being the holding company. Then we have the National Regulatory Authority and the Financial Conduct Service Authority, all working under the Bank of England. Everybody is the service conduct failed. What President Mahama said, it failed during the financial crisis because attention was not focusing on the regulation of institutions. And when you say Financial Service Authority, it encumbrances all insurance, pension fund, banks, what have you, the capital market. And what happened in 2008 and 2009, then the English people realized that it is not as good as setting up a different unit under one umbrella. Bank of England, Financial Regulatory Authority, and then Financial Conduct Authority. What the Financial Conduct Authority does is that it looks at the services being provided, right? How are people being treated fairly? Are customers being charged overcharged, and all those things. And then the regulator will look at the stability of the financial system and then report to the governor, the governor of Central Bank. So what I'm saying is that if all that is trying to say, then those who are bringing this idea should go back and sit and ask the historical antecedent. How did the Bank of England, the mother of all financial sector, abandon the Financial Service Authority and came back with this new twin peak approach? We call it the twin peak approach. I would have preferred him saying that when I can, I would adopt the twin peak approach, which is now the new model. The new model, because as I speak to you, Kenya is doing it. South Africa has started about 3 years ago. They've realized that you need a twin peak regulator. A twin peak is you have one for the financial sector regulation and one for service conduct. That one you will possibly succeed. But the service conduct there, it was a failed project in England.
So your conclusion, based on analysis of the proposal by John Mahama to set up this Financial Service Authority, is that it won't work for our time.
It won't work because you see, when you talk about Financial Service Authority, as I've told you, it is not only the banks, it's not only the asset management, it's not only the pensions, insurance. They all come under the Financial Services Authority. But what we realize is that they only focus on the service provision, but not the regulatory aspect of it.
But if you have the Bank of Ghana doing the regulatory, wouldn't this be complementary and therefore have a more holistic? We have the financial services, and then you have the regulators all there. That completes the circle, does it not?
Why would you want to do something out of something which you have not been practiced before? I mean, something some people have practiced and come out. The English practices from during Taylor, what is his name? Tony Blair. They practice it.
But this was in England. I mean, we could localize it.
Oh, no, because you see, we don't even have the skills to do what you're saying. Let us say facts of it. From what we have seen from the leading Bank of Ghana regulating the financial sector, it has been a tough time. Because now we are talking about digital transformation and this supervision. Has Bank of Ghana been trained to look at this digital issue? It is not just the services. So I think that let us begin to think in a very broad way. I've written a lot of paper, I've published a lot of paper on this twin peak approach. Let us think that it's not only the services that matter, but it's also the regulation. Say Bank of Ghana currently has got too much on his head. He looks at the savings and loans, he looks at the finance houses, and then he looks at the 23 banks. To be honest with you, if you want to do a good work, if you want to do a good supervision, you can't hold on all these too many people because it comes with speciality.
Okay.
Speciality.
I'm grateful, Dr. Richard Chahene, for your thoughts on this. What's your own take on this? 0244340437, especially if you've been affected by the banking sector crisis a few years back. I want to hear from you. Still on the NDC, Mr. Mahama made a pledge to appoint 30% women in his government. He voted into power in the upcoming December elections. This, he explains, would change the male-dominated governing system in the country and also bridge the gender gap. Listen.
The choice of Professor Okwa-Jiman is over and above affirmative action because she is more than qualified to serve as Vice President of this country. She's a woman who has contributed to shattering the many glass ceilings that have held women down for generations by becoming the first female to lead and manage a public university in Ghana. The NDC has a lot to show when it comes to putting women at the forefront of leadership. It was the NDC that presented Ghana's first female Speaker of Parliament, the first female Foreign Minister, the first female Attorney General, the first female Chairperson of the Electoral Commission, the first female Chairperson of the National Commission for Civic Education, and the first female Chairperson of the Council of State. Unlike the NPP, we in the NDC recognize and appreciate the knowledge, industry, passion, creativity, and problem-solving skills of our women. Indeed, the selection of Professor Okwa-Jiman as our running mate is a demonstration of the many bold and progressive changes the next NDC administration that I will lead, inshallah, will embark upon. The involvement of women in the decision-making process will not end at the level of the Vice Presidency. We will work again towards the attainment of a minimum of 30% of all appointments going to women.
Well, so in 2000 and in 2012, the 2012 manifesto of the NDC, then acting president, who was then running on his own ticket then in the 2012 elections, in the manifesto made a similar pledge to appoint more women into office if he won that election. He indeed won the elections. My colleague Parker Wilson joins me with a copy of that 2012 manifesto to draw the similarities between that promise and what we heard yesterday when they formally outdoor Professor J. Nana Okwa-Jiman. What was it?
Right, so Evans, in this manifesto, that is captured under women's empowerment, and at the time it was making a point that the NDC had appointed the first female Speaker of Parliament and the first female Commissioner of SRAJ, among others. And he went on to say, and I quote verbatim here, that the NDC, the next NDC government, will continue to make progress on this commitment with the ultimate goal of attaining 40%, very instructive, 40% women's representation. So that was the point Mr. Mahama made at the time in 2012.
Okay, I mean, but now the figure, the number, the target has dropped to 30%. I mean, the question to ask is the 40% that was promised in the 2012 manifesto. Of course, he won the election.
Right.
He had 4 years. The question to ask is, what target did he achieve
between 2013 and 2016?
Yeah.
Then we can judge him whether he's going to achieve this promise that he's making for the next NDC government.
I mean, more of this in the coming days as we begin to interrogate some of the policy proposals both parties will be making. Let's go to President himself, who today has been touring some parts of the Savannah region, where more than 11,000 people in Yape, in the Savannah region, will from today enjoy potable water. The President Akufo-Addo, this morning commissioned the 5 million CD water supply project in fulfillment of his campaign promise ahead of the 2016 elections. The President appealed to residents to ensure proper maintenance of the project and advised them to strictly observe all COVID-19 protocols.
One way to help improve the longevity of the treatment plant is for all of us collectively to protect our water bodies by stopping activities such as cleansing, sand moving, and traveling along river paths. All of this leads to their pollution. This will help guarantee improved water supply in terms of quality, quantity, and reliability to the people of Yapi in surrounding communities. Waterborne diseases such as guinea worm, cholera, and dysentery will also be eliminated. I'm hopeful that this water supply system will also go a long way to enhance our collective efforts in protecting ourselves from the COVID-19 pandemic. I hereby encourage all of you to adhere to the COVID-19 protocol by washing your hands often with soap from the running water for at least 30 seconds, observing social distance, avoiding shaking hands, covering your nose and mouth when you cough and speak.
Well, the traditional authority for that particular area, Hassan Swalidi III, gave this reaction.
Your Excellency, the first report I made to you, inshallah, you have fulfilled. And the entire community and the traditional area have the first belief and hope that you will fulfill the remaining two requests because you never fail. You are a leader in Ghana who has never failed anything. Thank you very much.
I want to bring in Mustafa Hamid. He's traveling with the president, and he, of course, speaks for the campaign team for the president. Mr. Hamid, thank you for your time here on Newsnight. He's also, of course, the Minister for Inner Cities and Zongo Development. I mean, so this particular project, is it an exclusively government-funded project or something that you got counterpart funding from donors?
Yeah, good evening to you and then to your listeners. Yeah, certainly this project is also co-funded under a World Bank facility. Yes, it is.
And this is, from what I said, it's a World Bank counterpart funding, correct?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I said.
The World Bank, and so we are hearing of somewhat 11,000 people benefiting from this. I mean,
the Yape people, yes, the people in that area that this water project will serve about 11,443 people per 20,000 population estimates. Yes.
What else has it been up to in the north?
Well, basically, this is a 3-day working visit by the president to 3 regions of the north: the northern region, the Savannah region, and the northeast region. The voices that you played right now on your network were voices of the chiefs in the Yape Kusogo constituency, which is in the Savannah region. Today, we have been in the northeast region, in the towns of Nalegu and Gambaga, where similar water projects were commissioned for the people of Nalegu and Gambaga. The Nalegu water project would serve approximately 20,000 people, and then the Gambaga project approximately 30,000 people. And then also we shall be doing Yendi, which is in the northern region tomorrow, also a water project under an Indian Exim Bank facility also. You know that the president is co-chair of the Sustainable Development Goals, and therefore he's very enthusiastic that many of the boxes on the SDG goals are ticked, and one of them is water, and he's determined that by the close of this year, every community in this country should have potable water. So there's an aggressive, if you want, drive towards providing water for many communities across the country that are still underserved. Right now, 5 minutes ago, he cut the sword for another water project to serve the people of Tamale and about 17 communities that surround what they call the Greater Tamale area as well. That will serve nearly 800,000 people. So that's what we've been about in the north. It's an official government.
The NDC held a press conference today to react to his presence there, and they accuse him of simply cutting swords, not completing project. In fact, the press conference was addressed by the NDC's executives there. They make the point that they called on Nanado and the MPP to stop using the northeast region as a receptacle of sword cutting. What's the reaction to that? That this is a campaign gimmick, and all these sword cuttings are being made 4 months of major elections when you know well that there's no way you can complete this before the elections.
Well, but I just said to you right now that we commissioned the water project. So the water is actually flowing for the 30,000 people of Gambaga and the 20,000 people of Nalirgu as I speak. Yes, there was a sword cutting this morning in Nalirgu, but that was to cut sword for the building of a regional office for the Youth Employment Agency. I mean, that's what we cut sword for. But, I mean, the most crucial point is water that we provided for the people of the area. So, yes, you will cut sword for some projects. At the same time, you will commission others. I mean, governance is a continuum. So we are not going to halt the governance process merely because we are going into an election.
That's Mustafa Hamid, is the minister responsible for inner cities and Zongo development. He also speaks for the campaign team. Still ahead, it's time for the opposition NDC to have a generational transition to pave way for younger and newer faces.
You can't have the same generation of people leading and directing the party all the time.
The moment she was announced, I accepted her because I know she's very good material. And we are also charting a new course.
We'll hear from two founding members, Professor Kwesi Boche and Kwame Nahoy, as the party endorses running mate and assess if the NDC can remain relevant and competitive with this generational transition that is being proposed, particularly by Professor Kwesi Boche. Let's do business now, and George joins me with the latest.
Well, Evans, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union is actually assuring us that they would work with the local authorities to ensure that the 10% reduction in transport fares is enforced from this Saturday. And Evans, if you should walk into a banking hall with just a face shield without a mask, they are saying that they are not going to allow you into their premises and even all their facilities. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you? And it has been 25 years of supporting those budding entrepreneurs out there.
So many ways there where you go feel use your MTN Momo wallet make payment with scan to pay, where you go use the QR code, or you go feel use the merchant ID or on bank POS terminal. You go feel also transfer money between mobile money wallet and bank account, all on MTN Momo. Enjoy real convenience in all your financial transactions and live life the brighter way with MTN Momo. We are good together. Just Momo it. We're there for you everywhere you go.
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Business on News. Now, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, says it will be working with the local authorities to enforce the reduction in transport fares at all terminals. Now, this was after it announced a 10% reduction in transport fares effective this Saturday. Now, the driver union took the decision following the move by President to actually reverse the restrictions on the operations on the number of passengers they can carry in their vehicles. Kwame Kuma is chairman of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union.
After the meeting, the communique has gone out, and now we are writing a letter attaching the communique to all the regions, and they also will send it to the branches. Because of that, we have given a time frame for us to educate the public and for them to make this thing. So everybody will comply. If you're interested, they comply. So if you are doing it also, everyone is supposed to comply.
Think that you have an effective mechanism in place to ensure that I comply if I'm a driver?
Yes, we have a mechanism. All the stations, the letters are going, and we're discussing with you. A lot of people are hearing, and so I think by Saturday, everybody will know that if he's paying 10 cedis, it's supposed to remove this thing from it. So things will be okay.
And that's Kwame Kumahe, chairman of the Ghana Private Road Transport Union. Now, economist Professor Peter Korte said the country's rising debt stock might not be a challenge dependent on how the funds are used and sectors that they are directed. Now, this was after the country's total debt stock hit 258 billion Ghana cedis ending June this year. The development has led to some raising concerns that it could destabilize the economy and push the country into a debt distress status. Professor Korte, however, tells Joy business managers might be tactful on how they use these funds.
The rising debt stock certainly is of concern to many, and I think we ought to be cautious. But then we also have to note that we are not in normal times. You don't hold a stick and allow a dog to bite you, as one will say literally. So certainly we ought to borrow. If we borrow and channel them into productive areas that will stimulate the real sector and bring higher growth, that wouldn't be a bad idea. That would be good. But if we just borrow for consumption, then that might have implications for the future. So it's advisable that we borrow, and if we can find funds at concessional rates or at rates that are within limits, that should be good. Otherwise, if we borrow from the capital markets at higher rates, that can have repercussions on our economy.
Professor Peter Korte is an economist. Now, banks say they will not allow anyone into their premises and halls with just face shield alone without a mask. According to the Ghana Association of Banks, the directive has been influenced by the latest notice from the West African College of Surgeons that the use of face shield alone is not enough to protect the public against the COVID-19. The association in the statement therefore directed all its members to insist that anyone who doesn't comply with this directive is not get anywhere near its premises, the banking hall, and the facility. Well, the development may further compound the woes of persons that have invested heavily in this face shield business, with some of these shields now being sold as complement to other commodities, so that's been reduced as low as 1 Ghana cedi. And the Finance Ministry says it is awaiting final data from the Employment Ministry to aid its plan for the takeover of the National Unemployment Insurance Scheme. This will provide active data on workers that have been affected by COVID-19 to guide the implementation of the policy. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta in the mid-year review announced the establishment of the scheme director of macroeconomics. The Finance Ministry, at a recent engagement with journalists, have been given further information about this that will help fast-track the process.
The Ministry of Employment is doing an exercise, and hopefully by the end of that exercise, we'll probably be able to know how many jobs have been lost. The exercise that they have or they are working on, I'm sure they know some of the job losses in some of the sectors, but in total, I'm not able to tell. So this information will probably come later.
Dr. Hassan Idris, who is a macro development economist at the Ministry of Finance. Let's turn our attention to the stock market, and for shareholders of Carbank, the value of each share held was up by 5 pesos to close at 70 pesos. Now, if you look at the whole Ghana stock exchange, if you have invested from January to date, your value or investment is down by 17%, 34. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
George, thank you very much. Now, for years, the leadership of the opposition NDC has been dominated by what some may describe as the old generation or old guard. Members of the party, many of whom joined the NDC at its inception and have remained at the helm of affairs for decades. But now, 2 founding members say it is time to step back and allow their younger members to direct affairs of the party. This comes as the party outdoored John Mahama's running mate, Professor Nana Jeno Poku-Agyeman, yesterday. One of those who was tipped as far back as last year to partner John Mahama for the 2020 polls is former Finance Minister, Professor Kwesi Botche. He's been explaining for the first time why he didn't avail himself of this particular position of running mate for John Mahama.
No, I didn't turn down the offer. But I'm immensely glad that John chose Nana as running mate. You know, I sidestepped the position. I think that every party must forge a generational transition. You can't have the same generation of people leading and directing the party all the time. I thought it was time for the party to have this generational transition so that we, the older ones, can step back and still provide guidance if it is sought. And I think that that's what has happened, and I'm immensely thrilled that Nana was chosen. And you can see from her performance that she is every bit the kind of vice presidential material that we need. She is, you know, cerebral, she is humble, she is well-spoken, she thinks through things, she's focused on policy, and I think that is refreshing and puts an end to the patriarchy that has dominated politics at the highest levels of leadership for so long. It opens up new vistas, and I hope that it will also help to reset our political culture as a people.
So her nomination was greeted with fanfare, especially by women. But there are those who say that in order for that to have some meaning, people must vote for her. So how can she translate that into votes by December 7th?
Well, she has shown that already in her acceptance speech, which I'm sure will carry to the populace. It will depend a lot on how she conveys her message and how she influences how people will see her. I think she will do a tremendous job of that.
The NDC talks of, prosecuting a cleaner campaign. Do you think that her nomination and her selection is going to change the political landscape in that regard?
I hope so. Our politics has for far too long been ridden with recriminations, insults, you know, and it's unbecoming of our democracy. There's much too much partisanship, and the insults are just not acceptable. We very much hope that this election will be characterized by issue-driven debate. We must lower our voices. There's much too much polarization in the country. I mean, you know what? Nations sow the seeds of conflict ever so slowly and imperceptibly. We need to step back from the brink and refocus on policy.
Well, former Finance Minister Professor Kwesi Bocho speaking to my colleague Araba Kungsin there. On his part, former Local Government Minister Professor Kwame Nahoy revealed that although Professor Nana Opoku-Agyeman was not his preferred choice, he welcomed it because the party is now charting a new course. He told my colleague Kudu Yangsing that John Mahama will be a better president in his next tenure.
He could have been a good president, and he will be a good president from 2021, because I believe that he has learned some lessons from some of the mistakes that he made. You know, I think that the biggest mistake he made at the beginning of his presidency, not when he was finishing off President Mensah's time, but at the beginning of his presidency, was to surround himself with people who were not core NDC members. You know, his special advisor or whatever was not, his secretary was not, his secretary to the cabinet was not, his, you know, so many of them, and so there was a divorce between the government and the party, and therefore it was not very easy for the party's program to be implemented. To a large extent, it was a program of the bureaucracy that was being implemented, and not the program of the party. But I think halfway through, he realized the problem, and so he changed course, and that's when he brought in Julius Zebra as his chief of staff. He brought in Kotti, yes, as a secretary. I mean, he changed his immediately because he realized the problem that had been created. And I think that since we came into position, he has been working with the party people very, very closely, and that's why I think that he will be a very successful president.
And that is former Local Government Minister Professor Kwame Nahoy speaking to my colleague there, Kojo Yankson. Well, the entire community used to fetch water from a small pond filled with filth. Now, residents of the eastern regional town of Domiabra, a town once saddled with waterborne diseases, share their stories of change since Promasidor Ghana Limited, producers of cowbell, intervened to construct a mechanized borehole there. Well, here's joining us Justice Beidou's report.
Brownish and covered by weeds. For many years, this has been the source of drinking water for the people of Domiabra here in the eastern region.
In the dry season, the water dries up. When it rains soon, it gets muddy. We have to really struggle before we can fetch.
Like many other communities here in the Kwaibibrem district where it is located, this is a very deprived community. It has only recently been connected to the national grid. But its challenges with water has always been a major source of worry for its people, constantly blamed for the high cases of waterborne diseases in the area.
Water is life. Without water, life is hard. I know some people even walk on the desert because there is no water there. Some die.
We are happy to come here to Domiabra today and to invest in this community, giving back to the people who support us. 20 years ago, our brand was born in this country, and Ghanaians have patronized our product all these 20 years and built us into what we are. So we are very happy to invest in the community and to redeem our pledge, which we made a year ago, to provide a borehole in this community.
I'm grateful to Cowbell and also to God, and grateful that they thought about Domiabra, my town.
The new mechanized borehole constructed here by Cowbell is touching lives.
Justice Beidou with that report. Let's bring in Benedict Owusu, who's joining us via Zoom now with the latest from the world of sports. Hello, Benedict.
Hi, Evans. Now, Black Stars coach CK Akono has received a massive backing from former Black Stars player Prince Tego to end the country's long wait for the African title. You know, CK Akono was appointed. He's not made his debut due to the outbreak of the coronavirus. Well, Prince Tego, who played at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, believes CK is the right man for the Black Stars job.
For me, when I heard CK is the coach, I was very happy because I know him personally from afar, but we've met one or two. I've been to his house, we've talked about a few things, and I know the kind of man he is. And for him even to play his career in Germany, I know the kind of high discipline he is. Because Germany, if you're not disciplined, you can't play. You can't even stay for long. So I know the kind of impact he will bring to the team. I mean, when it comes to tactical and better discipline on how to position the ball. And I don't think he will be shy of any player there because he has been there, he knows it, and he got all the experience. So I think he's the best choice, and I just pray that he will be able to bring some smile into Ghanaians field, which I believe he can do.
So that was Prince Tego speaking on Black Stars coach CK Akono. Now, Thomas Partey is in the news, and Atletico Madrid have rejected Arsenal's offer of 25 million euros plus Matteo Guendouzi. Also, Real Madrid are in the news. Mariano Diaz has tested positive for coronavirus, casting doubt on his participation in their Champions League tie at Manchester City, which will be on August 7. And the Court of Arbitration for Sports, they've confirmed Arsenal, Burnley, Chelsea, Leicester, Liverpool and Evans, your team Manchester United, Newcastle, Tottenham and Wolves asked for Manchester City's Champions League ban to be upheld. And that's your sports.
You're still listening to Newsstand here on Joy 99.7 FM. A few of your messages just before we go. This one says, Evans, please ask the Ministry of Finance to tell Ghanaians to break down of the 96% payments. Customers who invested through SEC licensed institutions are the worst affected. Claims of these institutions were lumped up such that they received a maximum of 170,000 CDs. Another one here says on WhatsApp. It says here that if Walanyo Nakwetia says JM was plucked out in 2016 because he failed to accomplish his mandate as president, and I quote, President Lincoln said, if you can once forfeit the confidence and self-esteem of your people, you can never regain the trust. And a final one says, is it true that the lock to Mr. Domino's office has been changed? Yes, it is. Information had it that it went to the office today to pick up some documents, and to his surprise, his key couldn't open his office. Yes, that's true. We brought that to you on Top Story. Well, they are cousins who've been together from their childhood till now. Their love for rap ended up in the creation of hip-hop and hip-life duo R2Bs. R2Bs, they are on Spotlight today.
R2Bs is a Ghanaian hip-hop and hip-life duo from Tema, Accra, Ghana. The duo is made up of Rashid Mugiz, known as Smoogis, and Faisal Hakim, known as Payday.
Just the R2Bs culture, plus music business is about the music. There's no music.
The two cousins, who have been together their whole life, lived in the same house and also attended the same primary, junior, secondary school in Tema. Beginning their career early, they started off representing their school in rap competitions as well as inter-school music contests. This led them to participating in popular radio competitions Pastor Harry, which they won most of, and also performed at most shows, gaining them more buzz under their stage names at the time. R2Bs got their stage name from the phrase they often repeated, refuse to be broke, which is also their inspiration.
Refuse to be broke.
Payday is the CEO, whilst Rashid Mugiz is the lead vocalist. They released their first single in August 2008, which they titled Yawa Girl. They followed up with the release of Ademad, where they featured Under Melodies. In 2009, they featured one of Nigerian prominent artists, Wande Cole, in one of their hit singles, Kiss Your Hand, which became their third single. R2B's first studio album was released in 2009. The album was a 17-track album, which they titled The Revolution.
I think African music is more defined now. Now you don't have to force people from the outside to listen to African music. Even in the whitest of all clubs, you still hear Afrobeat these days. So I think we've been able to put or to define African music that well to make it appealing to other nationals.
The Tema-based music duo R2Bs were crowned Artist of the Year at the 2013 Vodafone Ghana Music Awards. They were also nominated at the 2013 BET Awards. In